Welcome to this bonus episode of Living Wow Out Loud. This initial bonus series is going to be a reading of the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Disease. I've chosen to include this as a bonus because it really is the foundation that led to Change Your Story. It then led to the website Rise to Shine, and eventually morphed into Living Wow as we know it today. And so in order for those of you who may not be readers or have chosen the podcast platform, I want you to also have access to the book. And because I have all the rights to all my material, I'm able to upload it here for you as a bonus episode. So I'm going to break it into chapters to make it more digestible. And you will see, I will label all of these as bonus episodes, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases, and then the chapter. So enjoy. I hope you get something of value out of these bonus episodes. Lesson number 6. How do you eat an elephant? My personality and wiring was such that I needed to do everything, do it all myself, do it all now. There was a great sense of urgency, and to me, that was just normal. It wasn't until my sister pointed this out to me that I realized it wasn't normal for everyone. My sister is quite a bit older than I am, in fact, 15 years older. We are essentially from two different generations. She is a baby boomer, I am a Gen Xer. That's just how our lives have been, different. She has been a great support and help to me throughout my life, but really more of a mother figure than a sister figure because of our age difference and birth order. In 1998, she had gone back to college and was writing a paper. She needed to do an interview for this assignment, so she called me and asked if she could come over and do an interview. When she came over, this is the scenario she encountered and described in her paper. She approached the door with a Halloween mat going off, the house fully decorated, cookies in the oven, and dinner being prepared. The kids were doing their activities, and I'd just gotten home from work. Quite frankly, it was a pretty typical evening in our home. During the interview, she asked me why I live every day like it's my last and why I'm so driven. I said to her, "What do you mean? Why do I started to reflect and look around me. I had never really given any thought to my lifestyle. I was the first in my family to go on to college and just happened to choose a field that required a master's degree as an entry-level education. I had never considered not going to college. I had watched my mom struggle to provide for us after my dad passed away, and I'd also begun working at that time for a regular paycheck to help ends meet. I knew that I needed to have a skill that would provide a reliable income so that if I ever needed to, I would be able to provide for myself and my family. Having a husband and children was the natural progression of life. I couldn't have thought about putting those off while I finished my education or choosing to have a career instead of a family. It's just not in my wiring. I couldn't imagine just picking one or just doing one step at a time because to me it seemed urgent. I had to do it all. Doing less just wasn't an option. I never took time. Never. Between the ages of 20 and 40, I have no recollection at all of scaling down or consciously choosing to put my health as a priority. As I look back on that period of my life, it was not until I had the encounter with fruits and vegetables that literally changed my world. That encounter started me on the education of how antioxidants heal at the cellular level and how our lifestyle can either support that healing or sabotage that healing. I developed an understanding that I needed to delegate, I needed to prioritize, and I needed to slow down. I realize now that not everybody operates like that. It's not an aha moment for everyone. Things can be paced. They don't all have to be done now, and you can delegate. You don't have to be everything. As I progressed through living with autoimmune diseases, I gave up perfection. I realized that I strive for excellence because perfection is exhausting and unattainable. That was the first step. Then I started to realize that not only do not need to be perfect, but I don't need to do it all. Delegation and prioritization came into my vocabulary. It just hadn't been before. I just did it because it needed to be done. I got my value and self-worth from my list of accomplishments and how many to-dos I could check off in a day. With the absolute sheer exhaustion that comes with autoimmune flare-ups and the incapacitating fatigue, I started to realize that I could prioritize and I could delegate. This understanding became central to managing my health. Things still need to get done. I still have an ongoing list that I cross things off and add things to. I still get a great deal of satisfaction in crossing things off my list. I add things to it so I don't let them slip off my radar. However, it no longer has the urgency that it used to. It truly is a prioritization. I look at my top 3 priorities each day. I pick 3 things. Any more than 3 is not realistic. The top priorities will get done. The other lesser to-dos will get done because they support the top priority, sub-steps, and will get done as you do priority number 1. Some may fall off because they are not important or they need to be delegated to someone who's able to do it. It may not be necessary for you to do it. There may be someone who is better suited to it than you are. I've taken this habit and refined it even more with 1 priority for me, 1 priority for my family, and 1 priority for work. Does that make you cringe to think I only do 3 things in a day? It would have made me crazy to think that way before this lesson was learned. Before my feet hit the ground in the morning, I take a minute to reflect on what my 3 priorities are for the day. What will I do for me, my family, and my work? Many other things come in and go out of my day, but 95% of those priorities are not compromised and they get done. I knew I had mastered this habit and turned over a new leaf when I was in a committee meeting at the university several years back. I sat around the conference table representing the department for an event we were participating in and co-sponsoring. We were providing space for medical screenings, students to complete the screenings, and supervisors to oversee the organization and flow of the participants. As the event was planned and assignments were made, I was able to effectively delegate tasks to the appropriate person to best manage each aspect of the event. The outside community representative looked at me and commented about my skilled delegation. Much like my sister's observation and comment, his observation and comment resonated so strongly because I was no longer the leader that volunteered to do everything. I knew my strengths and priorities. I also knew the strengths and needs of the other team members or those who were not necessarily around the table. I knew who had something to contribute to the event that would be more valuable if they had ownership of it. This was a skill I had been working hard to develop, and it had been recognized by someone who had no idea of the mountain I had climbed to get there. He had given me a compliment that validated a mastery of excellence, not perfection, of delegation, not control. There are far more shared tasks around our house than there ever used to be. I ask for help a lot more than I used to ask. I no longer feel inadequate or guilty if I can't accomplish something. I no longer feel guilty if I have to ask for help because that is all part of taking the bites of the elephant. I'm not trying to do everything. I'm not being all things to all people. I still want to be a lot of things to many people, but I realize that it's not necessary for me to live with that Mach 10 hair on fire that I did for so many years, absolutely on autopilot. I had no real awareness that I was completely and totally burning out my adrenal system because I was constantly running on adrenaline. I was constantly running in stress. Still, even saying slow down feels a little derogatory. It feels limiting. It feels like I'm not keeping up and doing everything I should do. But the realities of slow down to speed up or less is more sayings are true. For so many years, I had heard these sayings, but I couldn't understand them. I didn't internalize them. I didn't understand how the activities I chose to participate in affect my overall health and well-being. It's the difference between a flare and vitality. As hard as I try, it still frustrates me because life still happens and it still triggers stress. But the difference is I now look at the situation. I don't just run headlong into it. I now realize what I can and cannot control, what I need to control or not control in order to prioritize and delegate. Lupus has taught me to look at and realize the elephant and recognize what bite will make the biggest impact for me. How do you eat an elephant? One intentional bite at a time. Hey, if you find value here on the Living Wow Out Loud podcast, will you please share it with your friends and take a minute to rate it on the platform that you're listening on? That's how we live wow out loud. You know that more people need hope and they need the messages shared. And that's how we get recognized among all the noise. This is where you find your voice. Will you please share and subscribe and rate so that we can grow? After my personal transformation from surviving to thriving with autoimmune diseases, I was completely astounded that the experience was not what I expected it to be. Instead of resenting my body and being forever trapped with a legacy of bad genes, as I had believed would be my fate, I looked and felt 20 years younger. I had dropped weight that had plagued me for decades, eliminated chronic pain that no doctor, therapy, or medicine could relieve, and found energy that I hadn't had since I was 16 years old. Because this is not what I expected, and because I wish someone would have told me that there is another way than sad, I wrote the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases. As I began to share the book and the message of change your story, Living Wow was born. After years of continuing to learn and study how and why lifestyle has such an impact on disease and the world being torn apart by a global pandemic, I can't stand by any longer keeping it to myself. You have to understand that the power is in your hands. The power is in your body. The power is in your lifestyle. The Living Wow Center is a holistic wellness practice that utilizes the framework of the Living Wow lifestyle to identify system failures or maintenance needs. Whether you just need a tune-up or a complete systems overhaul, we support you as an individual to get back out on the journey and living wow. We will work with you to determine levels of function, needs, tools, resources, and or providers that may be best equipped to guide you as you step out of the negative health cycle and turn it into a positive health cycle. The Living Wow Center offers a revolutionary, comprehensive approach to healing, coaching, and support that is necessary in our complex, sad world. Schedule your complimentary consultation today to see how Living Wow can support you. I'm super excited to announce Supercharge for you. We are changing the name of the Living Wow Challenge to more clearly represent the monthly support program where you take Living Wow for a 10-day spin. I know 10 days doesn't seem like much, but it is. And that's why it's now Supercharge. Living Wow Supercharge is a 10-day supported focus on eating a clean, nutritionally dense diet with intention as you jumpstart into the Living Wow lifestyle. You will feel lighter, more energetic, and empowered with your nutrition. You will experience the power of nutritional healing with less pain, more energy, and a better mood. The Supercharge includes a comprehensive 10-day seasonal menu, recipes, videos, quick start guides, and links to resources. You begin with a prep, then daily support, and wrap up with a review. This is the fastest, most immersive way to get started and feel the effects of Living Wow now. Right now, go to livingwowcenter.com. That's livingwowcenter.com to sign up now for the next Supercharge running the 1st to the 10th of the month. Early sign up ensures you a spot and gives you time to complete your preparation assignments as you gear up to Supercharge. Wow, you just finished another episode of Living Wow Out Loud. I hope you leave today empowered to live your best life and thrive. If you're ready to jump in and learn a little bit more about Living Wow, come check out the Living Wow Center. That's livingwowcenter.com. And maybe consider joining our next Living Wow challenge. We run the 1st to the 10th of every single month. See you soon.